I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So our orders get all backed up. We're drowning in paperwork, then actually drowning. Carol is fighting off sharks with a stapler, and pirates are pillaging the office copier, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant goes beyond the resume, using unique insights to deliver a smarter shortlist. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
Walmart Business saves you time, money, and hassle, which means you can focus on what really matters. Like putting the money you save back into what you do, spending more time training your team, filling orders, and finding new clients. Anything and everything, right down to, oh, that's the one, choosing the best hold music. Walmart Business. It's the Walmart you love, now for your business. Learn more at business.walmart.com.
Hello and welcome to Islanders Anxiety from Lighthouse Hockey and the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Dan Saracini. Joining me on this Sunday evening at our regularly scheduled recording time is my friend Michael Leboff. And Mike, we did an emergency podcast last night talking about the Islanders-Leafs game on Saturday. It was that momentous an occasion for us, the performance of Matthew Schaefer. I know it's weird for one of our podcasts to come out on Sunday, but if you missed it, please go back and listen to that before you listen to this. We will talk a little bit about that game, but mainly, we spent an hour talking about that game, and I'm really glad we did, because if we didn't, this episode would be 3 hours long. But we do have a lot to talk about. 2 other games last week. It's actually kind of a busy week for the Islanders. And then they have a huge week coming up. We have we just passed the halfway point of the season, so we got a lot to talk about. But I am still glowing after Saturday's game. I will walk around with a huge smile on my face all day. I've watched that overtime goal a couple more times today, and it's still a great moment. And I mean, I think inarguably the greatest moment of the season so far.
Yeah, I don't think there's any argument you can make about it. And a completely, as we talked about for an hour, a completely foreign concept, I think, for any of us to watch something like that and have it be an Islander who's doing this stuff. And once again, an 18-year-old Islander, right. So it's still the very beginning. And yeah, I mean, we could talk about the week that was, the first half that was, and what I have. I'm like you. I'm very happy we kind of already devoted the attention that performance merited to it, right. Because it allows us to go a little bit into some other things, while also saying, hey, just if you want to exalt in that Leafs. The win over the Leafs, you just, that podcast is there for you. This one will be a little bit more, take a step back, look at the games, the way the team's trending the first half, with the context of all of this. We're breaking all of this down. We're looking back. We're looking forward with the context of the Islanders have an 18-year-old superstar on their team. So yeah, it might sound like we're ticked off at the way they played against the Mammoth, or the feel bad win against the Blackhawks, and maybe that they've squandered too many opportunities this season and shouldn't be as close to the playoff cut line as they are. But once again, that's all in the context of like the here and now, and you just always have to remember that with Schaefer in town, it's just the future is just completely wide open. So but we can I just always want to say that, because I do think it's one of the themes of the season, which is you're looking at it this season as a singular thing, while also keeping an eye on how lucky we are to have this guy and the future that the Islanders should have, with him leading the charge. So I think this week was a good representation of just like what the first half with this team has been a lot. Like there's been a lot of reason to smile. There's been some very poor games. They got caught a lot of breaks and won to get a win, which has been a theme of the season. The Islanders sent out a very strange focus group email at one point.
Oh my God, I keep forgetting to fill that out. Damn.
Yeah, yes, it's real. They hired some marketing company in Jacksonville, Florida, I believe, to find out what Long Island is all about, which is a little strange for a team that plays on Long Island to outsource when you can just wait online at one of the bathrooms at UBS Arena and say, "Hey, what's your favorite thing about Long Island?" But yeah, so I mean, but there's just been all of that kind of all of that happened in this week, and I think that they all are different parts of the experience of the season so far through the first half, and we've seen a little bit of the entire menu from the Islanders this week, and I will say it's much better than I thought we'd be. But then there's also the fact that the Eastern Conference is shaking out the way it is. So yeah, a lot to get to. Even though we already spent an hour on one of the games and the performance of the season in a sidecar podcast. So, but there's still, as you said, a lot to get to.
Yeah, definitely still a lot to get to. And like you said, we can kind of go back and take a big picture view of the first half. I'm glad you mentioned the rest of the Eastern Conference because this afternoon, as I was just kind of sitting around the couch and dreading having to go back to work tomorrow or Monday, if you're listening to this that day, it occurred to me that it feels as if the Penguins and Hurricanes play every single day and they never lose. And in fact, both of them are playing on Sunday. The Penguins have already won. They came back to win their game in overtime. Oh, and by the way, all these games always go to overtime. So the Hurricanes are playing the Devils right now. They're up 2-1. I guarantee that game's going to go to overtime. Regardless of who wins, these teams are constantly playing. They're constantly giving up points. They're constantly grabbing points and winning. So as great as that game was on Saturday, as important as those 2 points were, the Islanders are certainly not out of this muck of the Eastern Conference. And still, it's really anybody's game to make the playoffs here. But that just kind of drives home how important that game was, which we talked about on that episode. So definitely check that out, but we got a lot more to get to. Before we get into all that, reminder that we are on Patreon, patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety. Membership gets you ad-free episodes, bonus podcasts, written posts, chats with us, and a whole lot more. You could try a 7-day trial of our country club tier or just join for free to get our weekly release calendar. So sign up today any way you can, patreon.com/Islanders Anxiety. Okay, let us turn back the clock. A week ago, which feels like forever now. And in case you forgot, Matt Barzal took a swing at Mason Marchment in the Islanders' loss in Columbus, and some people were worried that he was going to get suspended for that. He ended up getting fined $5,000 for it. Yes, that happened last week. I know it feels like it was a long time ago. There was a lot that happened last week. It was New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. It was a lot going on. But Barzal gets out with a $5,000 fine. You know what? I would pay that fine every single day of the week because nobody was doing anything. And Mason Marchment was being a dick to Matthew Schaefer, which, as we found out later on, is not smart. So anyway, there you go. Matt Barzal, $5,000 lighter. I think he can handle it with his contract. Okay, so day later, the Islanders, it was January 30th. The Islanders were in Chicago. It always feels like they're in Chicago for New Year's Eve. I don't know why. I know they were in Winnipeg a couple of times, but it feels like Chicago and the Islanders on New Year's Eve is kind of a thing. Although this wasn't New Year's Eve, it was the day before. This was the one you were talking about before. They kind of got out of here with a lucky 3-2 shootout win, although they did not play well for 2 full periods. This was the Ryan Pulock and Adam Pelech game 600 for both of them, which is funny considering how injured they've both have been in their careers. They both ended up playing game 600 on the same day. First period's great. The Islanders are up 2-0. Simon Holmstrom finds Cal Ritchie in the slot, makes it 1-0. Beautiful goal from a short pass from Holmstrom. Just less than 3 minutes in. And then Bo Horvat, top of the circles on a power play, 2-0 Islanders. That was Schaefer's 25th point. First 18-year-old to make it to 25 points. So every time this guy touches the puck, it's a record, which is really cool. But what's funny is that Phil Housley's always involved. So I'm never quite sure how they're messaging these things. But anyway, it was a record. So first period was great. David Rittich was really strong. But you can see the Blackhawks weren't just going to go away. They were much faster than the Islanders, seemed to be trying a lot harder, and that came to bear over the next two periods. They tied the game in the second. It was all Chicago. Holmstrom drops his stick. Teuvo Teravainen scores from the dot 2-1. And then Bo Horvat gets a 4-minute high sticking penalty off a faceoff. It's a little ridiculous. They almost kill it, but Nick Lardis scores from the circle with about 3 seconds left, ties the game at 2. It was all Chicago. They were running the Islanders ragged. The Islanders were lucky to get out of the third period without getting any goals because it was still mostly by Chicago. They had 4 posts in the same game, 6 altogether for both teams. And then it was one in the dying seconds by Nick Foligno, which would have obviously won the game for the Blackhawks right then and there. Overtime was kind of back and forth. Mostly Islanders, actually. Schaefer missed. He had a rolling puck in overtime and missed that. Heineman had a chance, too. There was no goals in down the power play that they got. And then in the shootout, Bo Horvat scores on the short side. He was the only guy to get anything. Rittich stopped all 3 Hawks. And I wrote here, stupid feel-bad win. So it's not just a feel-bad win. It was a stupid feel-bad win because it just felt like a stupid game on a stupid day at a stupid time. But like we said, the Islanders needed 2 points any way they can get it. Rittich was great. Kept it from being much, much worse. Spencer Knight was really good too. And this, at this point, was the 8th straight game in which the Islanders had only scored 2 goals. And it would get to 9 in the next game, which we'll talk about in a second. But I didn't like this game. I didn't enjoy this game whatsoever. The first period was good. And then, but even then, even Patrick Roy said in his post-game thing, like, I didn't like how we were playing. I know we were up 2-0, but I did not like how we were playing. It looked like we weren't on our game. And he was right. It was pretty bad. But in the very rare, this is one of the rarest feel-bad wins we could ever see for this team, which is that they managed to make it out with a shootout win, which they almost never, ever, ever do. This, I know it feels like this was 100 years ago, but what do you think of this one? You know, it felt like it would have been nice to wash this one away with a good win on New Year's Day. Of course, we'll get to that game in a minute, but this one kind of lingered for a while. I'm glad they got the 2 points, but I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, it was. You'll have a couple games a season that you win and you're still mad, and this was maybe their first. I can't remember if they had any others, but yeah, they were all over the Hawks, and to start, they get a couple early goals. They look like they're in a completely different league than Chicago for the first 14 minutes or so, but it was only 2-0, and the Islanders then carried themselves like it was 6-0, and like that the game was over, and right. They're just gonna play out the string. That's like the only way I can put it, because this was a tough watch. It was a tough watch. It was at 8:30 start on the day before New Year's Eve. You're still kind of in this weird holiday, mode, and you're getting late. It's getting late, and you're watching this, getting mad, and they end up winning. And what the Islanders tried really hard to lose this game, and I can't stress how often this happens with the Islanders, where I'll look at the clock, I'll say, oh, there's only 8 seconds left. The Islanders have the puck and they're exiting the zone. We're going to overtime, or we're going to the intermission, because there's almost no humanly possible way that this can end up back in the Islanders zone for a chance. And I think that this happened like 3 times in this game. Once the Blackhawks scored, the other time they Nick Foligno has a wide open net and hits the post. If that puck goes in, oh boy, like, the Blackhawks did this to the Islanders last season, right?
Yep.
Was it last season when they
kept
scored that late?
About this,
yeah, right. And I don't know. I wouldn't have known I wouldn't have been responsible for any of my actions after that one. But they get to overtime. Did they have a 4-on-3 power play too in this game?
Because Heineman got pulled down. Yeah,
right. And the Islanders, anytime they get anytime they get a power play, but especially when they get like a non-traditional power play, just look like they have got no idea what to do. It's they had a 4-on-3 in the Leafs game for a minute that went nowhere. Anytime they've got a 5-on-3, it's like they kind of do the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do by like forcing passes, and instead of shrinking the zone, like they expand it, and it's almost as if they feel bad that the other team is down 2 men or down a man, and it's unfair that we're in this advantageous position. So this game, there was like almost nothing to like. I'm trying to rack my brain for anything. The Pelech Polak thing is incredible because the odds of against, as you said, against that happening would have been astronomical. And the fact that it's those two guys, and they got that name similarity, and they've just been joined at the hip for the last decade is, it's really incredible. So the fact that it happened was just outrageous, and one of those things where if the Islanders were a little bit of a bigger draw, uh,
Right.
that it would have been one of the I can't believe this is
Right.
it would have been like a Sportsnet
Yeah.
little mini Hockey Night in Canada like mini documentary that they do those like 8 minutes.
Right.
Jeremy Schaap narrating one of
Yeah.
those kind of things. But yeah, I mean this game made me mad. They get the win. They hold their place in the standings. You go to bed and you're like, the next few games just felt the next few days just felt dicey. As you said, the teams in the Metro are all in action. The Rangers have a Winter Classic coming up. They've never lost an outdoor game. They've played
Yep.
5 of them going into that game. Um, you know the opponents. It's Utah on a weird matinee on New Year's Day, and then you got the Leafs, and like there's just all sorts of stuff going on. And if the Islanders were going to carry this form forward, even for a few days, they could find themselves in some trouble. And that's exactly what they did. They in fact they got worse somehow. So
Yeah. Yeah, it was not a great scene for the Islanders. It was not a great like place to be. But again, like I said, I was mad, but at the same time I was like, you know what? They're kind of limping to the end of the year here. That's not unusual. They get the day off, they get to fly back, they get to have New Year's with their families. They get a home game on New Year's Day, which is pretty rare, matinee game against a Western Conference opponent. But like maybe it's a team they've beaten before. It's a team, frankly, I don't really think much of. They can get back after it there. They're not the first team to kind of like, crawl and wheeze over the finish line. It's okay. Or, somewhat finish line at this point. So it bothered me, but at the same time, I was like, getting the 2 points is most important. They did get Bo Horvat back, although it wouldn't be long because he would get hurt in the next game. You're right though about that Rangers overtime game, and we'll talk about that in overtime. The outdoor game we'll talk about in a little bit. But you're 100% right too. I hadn't thought about that. Like the Pelican Pullock thing. If this was two teammates on another team, a Canadian team, I think it would have been a big deal. Like they would have made it a much bigger deal. I mean, 600 is a bit arbitrary, but like that's a lot especially for two defensemen to play for the same team.
yeah,
And the guys have been even when they're not a pair, they're still kind of tied at the hip together. So I feel like it should have been a bigger deal. It was on the broadcast, obviously they kept alluding to it, but yeah, I think nationally it might have should have been a bigger deal, but we'll get to more of that, especially in a few minutes as well. But yeah, I'm trying to think like if there was a couple of players. I'm trying to think of two players who played a long time together on the same team. Like obviously like McDavid and Draisaitl are two of the best players in the league, and like if they crossed the same game threshold at the same time, trust me, it would be a big deal, right?
yeah, right, yeah. It's like it's a very. I feel like the Devils had a lot of guys like this back in the day, like that they just played together forever.
Yeah.
Like when they had like Rafalski and Stevens and all those
Right.
guys, and they had that third line with like Sarge Breland
Yeah.
and like all those guys were kind of just like joined at the hip for forever. But yeah, Paul Kariya, Timu Solani, like if they like played game number 900, the same game.
Right.
But yeah, and those two guys, and what's crazy is I didn't think there was any chance that Pelech one thing, but Ryan Pulock, I didn't think that there was any chance that we'd see like vintage Ryan Pulock ever
Right.
again. And yeah, he's just been largely really good. So these two guys, when like their careers are over, will as they're still very different. I feel like in how they play, and Pelech is like a little bit more rangy and swarmy, whereas Pulock is just very stoic and kind of always in the right spot. And of course, he's got that monster shot that we see. That's why he scores 25 goals a season. But I just think that when it's all said and done, we'll look back on these guys and be like, yeah, like it was very, very pleasant to have those two guys for as long as we did.
Right. Well, and especially this season when they're both playing very well. I mean, Pelech, we've talked about. Pulock too is. I mean, we talked about this in our episode from Saturday. Being paired with Matthew Schaefer has done wonders for Ryan Pulock. Like, he hasn't looked this good in years. So yeah, no, it was cool to see. And we like, again, I'm the Pulock slap shot thing has driven me crazy for years. This guy has not exceeded 5 goals a season in, I think, 6 or 7 seasons now. So I don't care how hard his shot is, it's got to go in the net more. You could take 50 miles an hour off of it if it went to the net more often. But that being said, he's having a good season. So good on those guys for making 600. Okay. So like I said, I was upset about the way the game played out, but I was glad about the 2 points. New Year's Eve happens. I was looking forward to the New Year's Day reset. New Year's Eve comes about December 31st. Bo Horvat is named to the Canadian Olympic team. Says later that he really, really wanted it, that he was really focused on this. I am happy for him. He's the only Islander to be selected, unless you count Brock Nelson, who's on Team USA. He's always kind of an Islander. So I've said it before. I root for Islanders in these things. That's who I want to see win. I want to see them have success that they might or probably won't get playing for the Islanders. So if Bo Horvat wins a gold medal playing for Team Canada, I'll be happy for him. And if Brock Nelson wins a gold medal for playing for Team USA, I'll be happy for him too. Very quickly, what'd you make of the Horvat announcement? No Schaefer. I'm totally fine with that. There was a little bit of talk of maybe Heineman or Holmstrom on Team Sweden. Didn't happen. Totally fine with that. Please go enjoy the Caribbean island of your choice over those course of 2 weeks. And Bo, good luck out there.
Yeah. I think the Islanders were one of 2 teams with just 1 Olympian. I think that's an incredible accomplishment for considering where the season's going and how injuries have piled up. And I put it this way: if you're a Colorado Avalanche fan, I'd be shitting bricks, right? Like, my entire team is going to the Olympics.
Yeah, that could be bad.
We're in this middle of this record-setting start to a season. They just lost their 3rd regulation game tonight against the Panthers.
Oof.
And they're like whatever they're on pace for, right? They've won 31 of their first 41 games this season. So if you just double that, 62 wins, and double their points, you're looking at 138 points with 144 goal differential. But McKinnon, Makar, Natchez, Nelson, Lehkonen, all these guys are going to the Olympics. I'd be really upset. and I guess this, maybe we're in the minority with the way we feel about this, but I would feel a sense of pride, be like, oh, look at all my Avalanche going over there. This is great. I'd be like, God, this is horrifying. I wouldn't be able to watch a single second of it because of, we're obviously we're scarred from what happened in Sochi, but so just that is bizarre to me. But as for Bo Horvat, I care about Bo Horvat, the human being, because he's an Islander and a great Islander, and I think he's loves being an Islander, and I love him being an Islander. So I think on a personal level, I'm very happy for him. But at the same time, I'm like, God damn it! I don't want you to go. I just please don't go, Bo. And and it's that's petulant of me and petty or whatever you want to say, immature. And it is, but I want the Islanders to win the Stanley Cup. So I would, and they don't have a chance of doing that if Bo Horvat goes to the Olympics and get hurt. And I feel the Islanders are cursed in when it comes to this kind of stuff because of what happened with the guy that watched Matthew Shaver score the game winner the other night. So I don't need to see more Islanders. Rick DiPietro got hurt during an All-Star game.
Yeah.
I don't want to see more Islanders get hurt in exhibition games. Yeah. And Bo has now been dealing with a couple injuries. Obviously, we'll talk about the next one.
Yeah.
So very happy for Bo Horvat, the human being. Selfishly, I was like, damn, why couldn't you just take Sam Bennett instead?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, the good news is that Bo is going to the Olympics. The bad news is he's already hurt. He got hurt before he even got there. He got named to the team, and then he got hurt, and now he's going to be out. Hopefully he's back next week. We'll talk about the games next week in the second half, obviously. But yeah, no, great for the human being. I think there's definitely some PTSD left over from Sochi. Maybe that's just us because we saw it happen live. I'm sure nobody else is thinking that, but it was. On the same time though, hearing him say how much he wanted to be there, also made me kind of feel for him. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool because a lot of these guys it's okay. It is what it is. I mean, Jason Robertson is pulling this whole thing where, like, because he's not going, and he's like, well, they had their reasons and it's fine, whatever. But I think probably a lot of them want to go. And Bo being so open, I mean, he's a pretty closed off guy. It seems like he's a pretty private guy, and for him to be like, no, I wanted this, was kind of out of character for him. So I hope he's healthy. I hope he has a great tournament, and if he wins gold, that would be cool to see. So all that said, the Islanders get to January 1st. Happy New Year to everybody. They have a 3:00 game against the Utah Hockey Club, aka the Mammoth, and I am not going to recap this game goal for goal. You all know what happened. 7-2 Utah was the final. Dylan Gunther with a hat trick and an assist, I believe. Nick Schmaltz had, I think, 2 goals and an assist. Somebody else had 3 points. Maybe Clayton Keller. I'm not even sure. It doesn't matter. Riddick got pulled after making 9 saves on 14 shots. He was absolutely terrible. It was his 9th straight start. And the first time he's looked really bad. Hogberg came in, made 4 saves on 6 shots. Both of them were shit, frankly. They would probably tell you that too. The Islanders had the first 10 shots of the game. They scored no goals. Utah took the momentum back. Period ends 0-0. And you thought, well, I mean, that's going to happen. It's okay. Again, it's a weird day, matinee game. And then everything went to shit. So it was awful. Then the fact that Horvat got hurt in the third period, left the game, missed Saturday's game, made it that much worse. Just awful. Again, 9 straight games with only 2 goals or less scored. Tony DeAngelo was a -3 in this game. He frankly wouldn't be much better against the Leafs later on. But, you can say as many times as you want that some teams have games like this. And I get that. Like, intellectually, I understand that. They started Saturday's broadcast on MSG talking about, like, hey, sometimes you just have stinkers like this. That doesn't make the stinker any easier to take. Like, I still watch this shit on New Year's Day. I kind of set aside time to watch this, and it sucked. And this is, again, we talked about this in the last episode. Like, this is the team that wants to build their fan base and wants to expand the footprint of who comes to the games and who's into it. And you just said they're sending out focus group emails. They're bringing more influencers in to the games to try and get people there. Carson Daly was there on Saturday. Like, it's a whole thing. And how you reward people is by giving them a 7-2 ass whooping on New Year's Day in front of a bunch of kids, in the afternoon. Don't do that. That's a great way to get people to never come to your game ever again. This was just awful, awful, awful. And again, I get that sometimes this happens, but I still hate that it happened. It was just shit. Good for Dylan Gunther, I guess. I don't know. Maybe he was mad about not making the Canadian team. That he just went kind of crazy, and went ham on the Islanders. So it was bad. I mean, I could single out Tony DeAngelo, but the whole team was bad. I mean, again, Riddick, for the first time in his Islanders tenure, was just really absolutely terrible, and it was shocking to see. But I'm going to turn it over to you, so then we can finally forget about this thing. What were your thoughts on the 7-2 Utah win on New Year's Day at UBS Arena?
We talked about it during the Leafs episode we did, the Leafs game episode, about being at rock bottom, and it really started in this game. That was as upset as I've been at the Islanders all season. Not just because of the effort, but then Horvat goes down in garbage time, right? They're down 5-1 and just like a fluke play. And I'm like, well, this is because this doesn't happen if they're not down 5-1 in this game. Like, if this is all their fault that Bo Horvat just got hurt. And at that point, I'm like, he's out for the season, because they had avoided the worst case scenario in the first time he got hurt, when I was like, oh, he's, his groin just ripped off the bone. That I was like, well, it can't happen twice. Like, he can't have like 2 pretty bad looking injuries and avoid the worst case scenario in both of them. So I was fully expecting Patrick Roy after the game to be like, yeah, it doesn't look good. He's getting more tests. And he kind of did say that, but eventually it kind of seeped out that his Olympics weren't in jeopardy. Thank you to that was a rumble from Pierre LeBrun, his most useful rumble where the Islanders are concerned in, I don't know, maybe since Ryan Smith. But so yeah, that's as sour as I've been. It's New Year's Day, and as you said, it's a matinee. You got kids in the building. It's a holiday. The building should be full. There's all this talk about how we're going to sell out every game between now and like the Olympic break or something, and we're really excited about that. And the Islanders they continue to have these opportunities where it's not just showing out for the big holiday matinee crowd with the kids and stuff, but it's also the chance to beat a team that's coming in under 500, or and you have an opportunity to string a couple wins together. Carolina's losing, like you could be right behind them, top of the division. The Flyers, as you said, like the Flyers, the Penguins, and every other team doesn't ever lose, and every game goes to overtime. So you need these points, and yeah, the Islanders just they started hot, they just didn't score, and they were like, well, what are you gonna do? Like that's not it's just not our night. And the Islanders, I feel like, decide it's not their game earlier than any team in sports history. Um, because you said, right, teams are gonna have duds, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna happen throughout a season. But the Islanders are doing it with regularity, and it's always at home, and it's always in front of big crowds.
Yeah.
It wasn't too long ago that they had a really terrible effort against Vancouver in front of a big Friday night crowd. That was a terrible game. They were just not even close to being at the races. And it wasn't too long before that, like they had a couple of really poor. They played the Blues. They were not that great in that game. They then beat the Kraken 1-0 in a shootout. There was that 4-1 loss to the that homestand where they lost. Then they lost to the Bruins. They were terrible.
Yeah.
They were not that great against the Flyers in a shootout loss.
Flyers game, yeah.
Right. So you could say, like, yeah, it's going to happen throughout a season. This is like the 7th or 8th one since Halloween.
Yeah.
And that I don't even know if that goes back to the Wild game, but that you can also throw that one in there too. And then there was the duds at the start of the season, that one Capitals game, their home opener against the Capitals. They were just terrible.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what's been the frustrating part of the season, is that they don't like slowly taper off. They just hit rock. They go like straight nosedive on you.
Yeah.
Without warning. So it's really hard to trust that, like, oh, this is a huge game, big crowd, sell a crowd, UBS Arena's rocking. You can't trust that the Islanders are going to feed off of that, because they just haven't been able to this season in a lot of spots and against pretty poor opposition. If you look back at so their last like handful of losses, right? Utah, Columbus, Vancouver, Detroit's doing all right this season. But like they lost to Seattle, they lost to St. Louis, who was bad at the time. They've lost to like the Bruins aren't a world beater. They've lost in a couple shootouts to the Flyers, who I know they're having a decent season, but like the Islanders should be better than the Flyers. They lost to the Penguins right out the gate. Had they taken a few of these games, hell, if they didn't get like swept by the Bruins, and maybe they beat the Blue Jackets, they hold the lead against the Blue Jackets, like the Islanders are in first place in the Metro.
Right.
Instead, we're talking 82 game playoff territory again.
Yeah.
So that's what's frustrating.
The shootout loss to the Sabres? Did you mention that?
No,
that might be the worst of them all.
Right. You can throw that one in there. So like there's all these, and you're always going to coulda, shoulda, woulda over a course of a season, and you can then be like, well, they did beat the Avalanche and they swept the Lightning, so you can, but at the same time, yeah, you did that. So that means that you've shown that you can play as well as any team in the league. You beat the Golden Knights, the Lightning, the Avalanche. Like you should be able to beat Utah in a game that's taking place at a very weird time for everybody, but they're the ones with the weird travel schedule.
Yeah.
And yeah, they completely fell flat again. And that's what's been frustrating with this team. It's like when they lose, it's just such it's a whimper. And it really makes you wonder, we're past the halfway point, like which team are they? Like I've got no idea. And well, there's only one way to find out, but it's can drive you up a wall.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, people say, oh, well, they play down to their competition. I don't know if it's even that. Like, it's just that they just seem to come out flat. It happens at home a lot. Patrick Waugh was like, we are 8-2 at home in our last 10. And I'm like, yeah, but the two losses were, I guess, one was to Utah, and then what was the other one, I guess? But like, it feels like there are losses that are preventable. And we say it a lot too, like Oh, Vancouver. Vancouver was the other one. 4-1. Again, those were two games against two opponents that could have been beaten. I know that the Canucks went on a little bit of a run after they traded Quinn Hughes. That was right when they played the Islanders. But like, you a little bit of juice, a little bit of intensity could have turned the tides in those games, and maybe you don't lose 4-1 or 7-2. Like, you don't have to do that. And like you said, they're only 1 point behind Carolina. Probably be 3 points by the time we talk. You hear this, but they could be in first place, and they could be a little bit ahead of everybody else. And that's what you were saying last week. That's what I was kind of saying off the top of this show, was that like, as good as the Islanders have been in this first half, and I mean, I think this is a first half most people would take. I mean, their record is good. They're right there at the top of the division. They're right there at the top of the conference. They have not pulled away in any way, shape, or form. Nobody really has in the East, except maybe the Hurricanes. And so, like, a win here or there that could have been prevented makes a big difference, which is exactly what you're saying.
And we've just, as a fan base, the Islanders haven't had breathing room. In when's the last time we've had any sort of breathing room in the standings? It's been 2018-19. Like, seriously, it's been that long that you could go into the All-Star break or the Olympic break or whatever is going to be like the line of demarcation between the first part of the season and then the stretch run, and be like, well, I feel pretty good about where we're at. Like, it would take something unforeseen for us to blow our position here. Right. And the Islanders had an opportunity to be there had they just cleaned up their act against, and we're not, as we said, it's going to happen. You're not going to be the Colorado Avalanche and lose 3 regulation games in your first 41. But at the same time, you can also be a little bit better. You've proven that you're a little bit better than everyone expected. So just go beat Vancouver at home on a Friday night in front of a big crowd, and go beat Utah in front of a big crowd. Because if you had done those two things, you got some breathing room. You've got, it's not, oh man, if we lose to New Jersey on Tuesday night, like we're going to be out of the playoff picture. Like, and that's where the Islanders could be, because of the fact that everyone else is picking up points. In the Eastern Conference, there's no team under 500 in the East. Yeah. So,
but yet almost everybody's goal differential is like underwater. Which is really fun.
It's the way the standings are shaken up is exactly like it was there for the taking. That's maybe there's like two things can be true, which is the Islanders have been decent. They've been good. They've been better than expected. But I also look at the first half as a little bit of a blown opportunity.
Sure.
As well. And part of it is because I'm judging them against the team that they've shown that they can be in a lot of games this season, rather than the team that we thought they were going to be on paper on October 1st. So, and all this kind of angst and where's this team going? Is this just going to be a season where all we think about is, the individual success of and the coming out party of the wonderkind Matt Schaefer, and the team misses the playoffs or something, and you kind of have a little sour taste in your mouth because of that? Or is it going to be the one where they built at least maybe they built a foundation in the first half and they learned their lessons in the second? I don't know. It's we've seen some wide open NHL standings in previous seasons, and it's been a while since it's looked like this. The East used to be the haves and have-nots, and the Islanders the Islanders deciding whether they want to be a have or have not for 80 games. And then this season, it's essentially opening night again every night, because everyone's almost on level pegging, and there's a lot of teams that we really hate chasing us, and they're not that far back.
No, and it sucks. And for all the work you're doing, you haven't really pulled away. And so, the only thing, I'm glad you mentioned Matthew Schaefer, because we're at that point now. If there was one good takeaway from that loss to Utah, it's that Schaefer drew a penalty, scored his goal. It was his 10th goal of the season, the youngest player to ever score 10 goals in a season. He would add to that in a huge way in the next game. Obviously, we've talked already a lot about it in our previous emergency episode, the 4-3 overtime win over the Toronto Maple Leafs on Saturday night and on Hockey Night in Canada. And, without without reiterating too much, without retreading over it, basically this team looked dead in the water. Austin Matthews had become the Leafs all-time leading goal scorer. Once again, another team empties its bench out to celebrate a moment on UBS Arena ice. I said it on that episode. Please stop letting other teams do this. Like, again, show some pride. Nobody's coming here to root for another team to celebrate a milestone moment. Don't let them do that anymore. That's 3 times in the last year, and I'm fucking sick of seeing it. But after taking a cross-check to the ribs from noted scumbag Max Domi, Schaefer just decided we're not losing this game. Scores the tying goal. Leafs take the lead again. Emil Heineman ties it again. 2 minutes left to go. And then Schaefer in overtime. You've all seen it now. It's an incredible moment. Brendan's call is incredible. Thank you to all the people who have sent me the Hockey Night in Canada Punjabi call. They do for their Indian viewers. They do the call in. They do have a whole Punjabi play-by-play crew. And you should definitely seek this out. It's on Instagram. Check it out. It's awesome. I mean, the way they have the one camera on the announcer, another camera on Schaefer, the clip from the game. And it's great to see. So now I've heard Brendan. I've heard this Hockey Night call. I've heard the Punjabi call. Anybody got any other foreign calls they want me to hear? Is there one in French? Is there one in Chinese? I want to hear it because it was just awesome. I just want to relive that goal over and over and over again. And, as huge as that game was, we're talking about these 2 previous games that were both sort of disappointing in their own ways. One, obviously, a blowout, one, a win, but not the kind of win you want to see. Even the coach wasn't happy about it. That all, the Matthews thing, the Leafs coming in, the Tavares booing, the whole thing that always accompanies every Islanders Leafs game made that Schaefer performance so incredible, made that overtime goal so cathartic, as one of our patrons, Ann, pointed out. It's a very cathartic win. Just all of it gets wrapped up in this one thing, and it's just still an incredible moment, and I'm not going to forget it. I got a couple of things to go over too, but after sleeping on it, have you come up with any other thoughts about this win other than just like, I can't believe how lucky we are that we have this kid on our team and everything that he represents?
Yeah, and it's just it feels like it's so surreal still, and it's going to be for years and years to come. I think for us to come to grips with, like, yeah, we deserve this guy too, right? Like I almost feel this like weird shame about having him. Because I'm like, do I deserve to have this? Do the Islanders deserve to have this guy? The answer is yes. Of course we do. No other team had the asbestos in the ceiling or the concrete in the toilets, right? Like the Islanders have been through so much, and to have this beaming light shine on them through this guy is so extraordinary, and hard to come to grips with. And for him to have a moment like that, as you said, with like kind of all the build up leading to it. And we talked about it ad nauseum last night, so I won't retread over old ground, but the stuff that we couldn't get to because it didn't come out yet, which I loved, was that if you read any of the debriefs or the postmortems from that game, it was, and yes, these are Toronto media people, so they're going to focus on Matthews, but
yeah, you
read the stuff and it's just all about Matthews and the goal, and there's nobody being like, whoa, like the Leafs just got burned by something like a comet. Like there was just a comet that struck the Leafs. That was an important game that they lost. Like they think about how steaming mad we would be if Matt Barzal set the record for the Islanders in like points or whatever, and the team celebrates, and then they're up late and they lose in that fashion. I'd be like, fuck these guys. I never want to watch this game again. I don't want to see the celebration like that. And up in Toronto, they're like, yeah, the game doesn't matter. What the 2 points don't matter. The Leafs are going to win the Stanley Cup, just like they did last year and the year before that. And the year before that is in our own sick heads. What really matters here is Poppy, and also don't put in the papers that I was running this guy out of town 2 weeks ago. I mean, like the people groveling at his feet about this record. James Myrtle had an article where the title was like, "Don't even worry about 1967. This is what it's all about." Like, James, no, that's as far off of as you can be in terms of sports and sports journalism, because everybody wants to see their team win a Stanley Cup. this other stuff is cool, but it's a part of the journey. The journey is supposed to culminate with that. And yeah, I mean, it's just it's as wrong as you could be, and they all wrote it from the perspective of, was like, Poppy lifted them and it was like all him. He carried them to a win, except in like the fine print at the bottom of the article, Matthew Schaefer scored 2 goals, including the overtime game winner, and the Islanders won. And it's been funny. And once again, like I said, these guys were like wondering if he even cared about playing hockey 2 weeks ago. They're like, does he even want to be a Maple Leaf?
Yeah.
And now they might retire 34 league wide.
Yeah, I mean, were we talking on the last episode, or like not, last week's episode, where like Nick Kyprios was like, trading him to LA is the play. Los Angeles is the play.
Yes,
it's
yes.
like, and now they're going to go off about how great all this is. And yeah, the Myrtle article is really funny. At one point it's like, Matthews, not this kind of greatness wasn't expected from Matthews, even when the Leafs took him first overall. And come on, dude, you can't.
They took him all the way down at first overall, the NHL draft.
You can't play the underdog card when your guy is now your team's leading all-time goal scorer and basically has piled up more goals and assists, more goals for your team than anybody else in the least amount of time. I mean, again, he did this in 300 something less games than Matt Sundin, who was also a great player for the Leafs. And the funny thing is, and so I listened to Leafs talk today because I thought I had to, and it was incredibly disappointing. There was almost no angst whatsoever. I should say, there are elements of disappointment from Leafs fans about that game, but they're all directed at Morgan Riley. It's all his fault. Like, it's not that they lost. Not that they lost a point and they're still in 13th place or whatever. Not that they blew a lead and let the Islanders just like steal the game from them in the second, in the third period. None of that. Just Morgan Riley sucks. They got to get rid of this guy, but they can't because he's signed for $7 million for the next 5 years. But the thing is, they did mention something. I realized this. So, for those who don't know, the Islanders' all-time leading goal scorer is Mike Bossy, 573 goals. Right behind him is Brian Trottier, 500 career goals on the nose. 2 obviously Hall of Fame players, no doubters. Two of the greatest players in the history of this sport. The Leafs, the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have been around for over 100 years, their leading goal scorer now has 431 career goals. That's 140 less than Mike Bossy has. A little bit, something along those lines. Don't ever check my math on anything, but that's pretty sad. I mean, I didn't even realize that Matt Sundin was the all-time leading goal scorer. I thought it would have been like Frank Mahovlich or Daryl Sittler or one of these people, right? Like somebody who played before I was born. Like, I remember Matt Sundin play. I remember Matt Sundin when he was at Quebec Nordique. Like, what the hell? He's the all-time leading goal scorer for this team? That's crazy. So that's also kind of puts into perspective, like, sort of the Leafs timeline and everything. But you're right. Like, all of the post-game coverage, for the most part, aside from the AP and the Wire stuff, was about Matthews. And listen, this is a huge moment for Sportsnet, for Matthews, for the Leafs. I get all that. That's true. But you are burying the lead in a way, in the sense that the Island, you were up 2-1. You had all the momentum in the world, and the Islanders just came out in the third period, threw a bunch of pucks on net. Your guy cross-checks their rookie phenom in the... Oh, by the way, that was the other thing. That was the one thing that got me mad about Leafs talk, was Sam McKee saying that Schaefer was like trying to basically playing up the cross-check, crying, whining a little bit, making a big show about doing stretches and stuff. Schaefer himself said that he thought he had a broken rib. He didn't. He's just got to get on with it and play. And I thought that was a pretty cool thing for him to say. But he was hurt. And after that moment, it was just like, I'm done with this. And he just took the game over. And even when the Leafs took the lead again, the Islanders still took the game back. If I was a Leafs fan, I would be like, I don't care about Matthews in the goal. I don't care. He was going to get it anyway. Like, who cares if he got it against the Islanders or their next game or whatever? Like, I'm more mad that they left a point on the table against a team that they could beat. Because we're sitting here talking about how mad we were about this Chicago game where they got 2 points and played like shit. These guys played well enough to win for 2 periods and lost.
Yeah.
And all they can, but at least their guy scored a goal that's really only meaningful to them. So I guess,
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just, it's a really good glimpse into the mindset of the fan base up there. And the fan base, of course, includes the media, because they are all part of it. They just they just have credentials and lanyards and around their neck. That these people just cannot come to grips with what's going on in reality. It's this strange. We say it all the time. Like every Leafs article is written from the perspective of at the end of this season, the Maple Leafs are going to win the Stanley Cup, and this is just a page in my book about it. and then it ends, and it's just they're like, oh well, and then they go away, and then they come back and forget that they ever did that. And this is just like a glimpse into that strange mindset that they have up there, which is that this guy is set the all-time record. You want to clap for him, go right ahead. Bench is cleared, awesome. Then they lose the game. They're in the middle of a bad season, and they've still, with this guy, this all-time, is what do they call him? The GLOAT. That's a Luke Fox jukebox classic. He likes to call him the GLOAT, the greatest Leaf of all time. This guy has won 2 playoff series with a team that also included Mitch Marner, William Nylander, John Tavares, and all these other. They've been one of the Stanley Cup favorites for a decade. They've won 2 playoff series, and they just they can't help themselves but romanticize these kind of things, despite the context of they lost the game. Yeah, it's just it's so funny to me, and but hey, as you said, kind of sick of we're all sick of watching benches clear at UBS Arena for the other teams in the middle of a game. The Islanders are 3-0 in those games, which I was thinking about last night after we finished recording.
Maybe they're sick of it too.
Yeah, exactly. But it is funny that, like, in my head, if once again, if the shoe was on the other foot, I'd be like, yeah, that was fun, but then they lost the game, and I have a tough time like reliving that memory because of that. And so it was bizarre experience. It's been covered in a very bizarre way. It's almost as if the Maple Leafs traveling circus knew that we were chomping at the bit to get some Master Leaf theater action, and they really didn't give us much to work with, which is really upset. Luke Fox jukebox didn't even travel to the game, which is a huge disappointment. And the only weird thing we got was this very strange article from James Myrtle about how the cup drought isn't a big deal. This is what it's all about. All the people in Maple Leaf Plaza were going crazy last night when Poppy scored.
An article, by the way, that was probably written a week and a half ago that is now just again filled in, with the details from the game. Which there was another article on Sportsnet that seemed to be the same thing, and it mentioned the Islanders like in the 3rd paragraph, and that was about it. So we did not get the Leafs traveling circus. We did get young Bukauskas doing the intermission thing for Hockey Night in Canada with Schaefer. He got his towel. Everybody can calm down. He got his towel. He was so excited. And Bukauskas was like, I included this in the episode we did on Saturday, but he was like, I've never been to this arena before, and everybody here is shouting your name. What does that feel like? And he's like, oh, I love it here. We talked last episode about last week again, I should say, about how we hope that somebody showed Schaefer that Tavares returning game. Maybe he saw it as a kid, I don't know. Cause again, he was, 10, we said when Tavares signed with the Leafs. So maybe he has a memory of seeing that game. And because I feel like when he tells the Hockey Night in Canada audience, I love it here. It's great. Everybody's been welcoming. My dad was a Leafs fan, but now he's an Islanders fan for life. He said, for life, he said. That I think might be, the kid is, I'm not saying the kid is like, trying to game all this out. He's like a calculating Machiavellian, mind twister or anything. But I do feel like there's a bit of, maybe some gamesmanship going on here because he knows that that's what we want to hear. And I didn't watch it before we recorded, but when he came out and looked for Shannon Hogan on the bench to do the intermission and she wasn't there, and he was clearly like confused and maybe a little upset by this.
Like a dog looking for his owner at the park. It was so good.
Yeah.
And I texted somebody who works at Sportsnet, won't reveal who. And I was like, I'm so mad at you guys at Hockey Night in Canada for stealing what would have been an amazing interview.
Right.
And of course this person didn't really pick up on the joke. It was like, well, you could thank us for the salary cap. Like, well,
Yeah, that's
okay.
not helpful. Well, I saw
Yeah.
somebody complaining that, oh, well, the Islanders are zigging the Leafs by playing the song we used to play after victories, obviously meaning Maxine Nightingale, right back where we started from. And I'm like, dude, they've been playing that song after wins for what, 5 years now? 6 years, 10 years? Like,
I don't know.
okay, thanks for knowing. I got to know every fucking Leafs goal song going back 12 years. But nobody can know that the Islanders play this song after their wins, really? So nobody
Right.
can know about Shannon Hogan, those
Right.
interviews. So
Yeah. And you know what? Another thing I thought about late last night too is, I've been under the weather, so I was like having fever dreams about this stuff too, and that what that towel. There's 3 minutes left in the game, and young Bukauskas is over
right.
by the Maple Leafs entrance to their locker room with his towel, and he's just got a big smile on his face, like, I'm going to give this to Poppy on the night that he set the record, and then Matt Schaefer just zoinks it from him, which was just so good. And I haven't really watched like any of the headlines or like the intermission stuff on Sportsnet, as I was gonna try to, but I was gonna, before Schaefer pulled the Houdini stuff, I was just mad more than anything, and I didn't want to watch that.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming it was all just geared towards Matthews to the end, and until Schaefer, and then, as you said, like, it, whether it's Leafs talk, whether it's Hockey Night in Canada, whether it's young Bukauskas, whether it's the people writing the debriefs after these games, it is just so apparently clear every time that these folks parachute in, and they love to say on the island now, which I'm like, it's now a thing, and they're like, on Long Island, they parachute on the island, they come in for their couple games a season. It is just so remarkably clear that they just don't watch anybody else or understand that any other team has these sort of cultural things that not just hockey, every fan base has.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, wait, you guys play music after you score too?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Oh, you guys chant things for your players and
Yeah.
cheer for them? Like, wow, that's so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. This arena is the crowd in this arena. I've never been here before.
Yeah.
They're yelling your name.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait to hear 32 Thoughts and him say, it's a beautiful arena. I'd never been there before. Like, yeah. I don't think Freed has been there either,
No,
but
of course.
I think it'll be kind of funny. But
Yeah.
yeah. So, couple other notes from that game as we wrap up this first half. One, I heard through one of our patrons that some Leafs fan threw a hat on the ice in overtime because he thought that Matthews had a hat trick because just before Schaefer's overtime winner, Simon Holmstrom almost scored an own goal.
Yes.
Which just managed to skitter across the goal.
And that wouldn't have been a Matthews goal either.
Right,
It was Bobby McMahon who threw it. Holmstrom almost hit it in. And yeah, I think the ref is holding the hat when Schaefer scores.
That's amazing. I had no idea.
Because they were like, yeah, he's I don't know who it was. It wasn't Bill McCreary, but I'm going to say Bill McCreary is skating around with the hat that was just thrown on the ice.
That's
but
funny.
Yeah, that happened. And yeah, we didn't even, so much was going on that we didn't even get to laugh at that. We were too busy laughing, trying to make sense of what happened, and then laughing at the towel shenanigans.
Yeah. Also, we again posted the episode. We've mentioned it a million times now, but one of our patrons, number 35 jersey, wrote in another first, Matthew Schaefer got Mrs. number 35 jersey to actually listen to one of our podcasts, and she loved it. So that's the power of Matthew Schaefer, bringing people to our podcast even when they weren't listening. But my favorite thing about that goal, aside from the goal itself, I woke up this morning and got an email from a listener of ours who lives in the Czech Republic. His name is Paul. I don't know how many listeners we have in the Czech Republic, but Paul is definitely our favorite. He emails me all the time, and I love hearing his perspective. And he sent me this very short email. I can read the whole thing right now. And this is just like, again, the power of Matthew Schaefer, the power of Islanders fans everywhere. It's like a connected network. And, we are lucky enough to be sort of, one of the little mini hubs of that network. And Paul wrote to me, he said, everyone's asleep and I don't know who else to share this with. It's 3:45 in the morning in the Czech Republic. Like a little kid, I am huddled in bed, secretly watching the game when I should be getting rest. And why would I want to watch us lose 3-2 to the bloody Leafs? But Heineman scores, and then I am so sorry. I wanted us to trade that number 1 pick. We cannot forget moments like this. Paul, love this email. I 100%. I'm in agreement with you. We, obviously the Higgins thing, we talked it over and a million times. I would not trade this moment for the world. And hey, listen, kudos to you, man, for being up at 3:45 in the morning in the Czech Republic watching this game. That is some serious dedication. I don't know if I'd be watching the Islanders at 3:45 in the morning, but I'm glad you did, and I'm glad you got the game you did. So thank you, Paul, for that great email.
Yeah, that's beautifully put in. And as someone who watches a lot of overseas sports, I've been in there, and I'm almost a little jealous that you got to watch that performance in that environment and be like, well, now I just got to go to bed somehow.
Yeah. I thought for sure, I even said this on the podcast, I thought for sure I was going to be so wired that I was going to need to watch something else. But honestly, by the time I edited and posted the podcast, I was ready to go to sleep. But there was some wrestling going on in Japan. It was the retirement match for Hiroshi Tanahashi, who's the ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And it was a whole big thing. And I was going to stay up and watch it somehow, but I was already wiped by the time
I wish I did that. I ended up I watched like 3 hours of YouTube about the 100 Years War and the Battle of Cressy and all sorts of shit. I gotta say, I don't remember a thing about it. Yeah, I'm watching that and I'm just like, God, yeah, Edward III is a pretty good king, but man, Matthew Schaefer.
Yeah, I prefer the 52-year war between the Islanders and Maple Leafs. So we're going to take a break. We're going to no more Leafs talk. We're done with the Leafs. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the upcoming games the Islanders have, including the start of another very long road trip and some places, starting in places that they never win, which is exactly where you want to start a road trip. So meet us on the other side. Thanks. And now a word from our sponsors. VintageIceHockey.com. Over 100 classic hockey logos on t-shirts, jerseys, hats, mugs, and more. Long Island Ducks, Albany Riverettes, Danbury Trashers, Kentucky Thoroughblades, and so many more. Plus a full line of Islanders Anxiety merch with our portion of the sales going directly to the Center for Dementia Research. These incredible items cannot be found in stores, so shop VintageIceHockey.com today. Relax, sit back, and enjoy wine from The Pinot Project. Rosé, Pinot Grigio, or a Pinot Noir that was named a Best Buy by Wine Enthusiast magazine. These wines are delicious, affordable, and available at area wine shops and at UBS Arena. Learn more at thepinotproject.com. And please, drink responsibly.
Rated E for everyone. Includes in-game purchases. Includes random items. EA Sports FC 26 is here. Play your way this holiday season with an overhauled gameplay experience powered by community feedback. Enjoy festive upgrades in Ultimate Team with Winter Wildcards. Take on holiday-themed challenges and manage your career, like navigating the busy Christmas period. And team up with friends and clubs with new tournaments and live events. The club is yours. Give the gift of football with EA Sports FC 26.
Okay, before we get to the Islanders' upcoming schedule, some of our upcoming schedule, obviously you're listening to us today on Monday for the millionth time. If you haven't listened to Sunday's episode, please go back and listen to it. It's an hour on that Leafs game, so there you go. On Friday, we were putting out a brand new episode of Weird Islanders, the podcast. It's one we teased a few months ago. It's a great one about a guy from a season that we talk about a lot, but he's kind of a footnote in that season. We got a great guest who's an absolute expert on this player and the teams that he's made, one of the teams that he's mainly known for. So check that out. That comes out on Friday. And last Friday, which again, you might have missed, it was January 2nd. Everybody's got stuff to do. We put out a Weird Islanders extra episode with my friend John Cullen talking about the Islanders relationship with John Tavares and those games. You can still listen to it even though the game is over. John's a great guy, super smart guy. We really talked less about that Islanders game with the Leafs on Saturday than we talked about Mitch Marner's return game against the Leafs, which I think happens later in January. So if you missed it because you were, doing something better than listening to podcasts on January 2nd, please go back and listen to it. If you're not a regular Weird Islanders listener, definitely check it out. I know it's an extra episode because John's actual episode of Weird Islanders, a podcast, is coming out on February 20th, and it'll make a lot more sense when it comes out, why it's coming out then. So anyway, long story short, go check out the Weird Islanders extra episode with my friend John Cullen talking about the whole John Tavares thing. It was great. Okay, so that's this week. So now, what do the Islanders have going on for themselves this week? Well, it's a rough one. We mentioned before, New Jersey Devils at UBS Arena on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, they are in Nashville. I want to park those two games for a minute before we get to Saturday's game, because both of those games are on ESPN Plus. Okay, important note, they are on ESPN Plus. The next MSG game is on Saturday. That is in Minnesota at 8 o'clock. So, Shannon gets a long time off. She was sick. Hopefully she's recovered enough to be in St. Paul on Saturday. But yeah, so, get your passwords or whatever is ready. ESPN Plus / Hulu for Tuesday versus New Jersey, and then Thursday in Nashville. Again, I want to focus on these two right now. Devils are always going to be tough. Jack Hughes is back, obviously. They're playing tonight. I think they might have lost that game. I'll take a look in a second. So that's a tricky one. Another divisional game. Thursday is the start of a 7-game road trip that takes the Islanders from Nashville to Minnesota. And then next week, which we'll talk about in our next episode, it's Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, then the week after Vancouver, and then Seattle, and then they're home for a matinee game on Saturday, the 24th against Buffalo. We'll obviously talk about all of those in upcoming episodes. The good news is there's no back-to-backs here. No, sort of Thursday in Edmonton, Friday in Calgary type situation. So that's good. But boy, these are some tough ones, some tough places to play. Starting in Nashville on Thursday. Thursday is my 50th birthday. So I would really, really appreciate it if the Islanders could get a win in Nashville for me. That's all it takes. That would be make me the happiest man on earth if you guys can just get a win in Nashville where they literally have never won. So please do that for me on my 50th birthday. But we'll park Minnesota for a minute. What do you make of these two here? Two very opposite teams. The Predators have come on as of late. They were dead in the water for most of the first quarter of the season, but have come on. Steven Stamkos scored his 600th goal recently, so they've had moments to cheer and stuff like that. But these are two tough ones, and I'm not sure which is the tougher one: the home game against the divisional rival, or the road game against a not so great team in a place where you have literally never won in 30 years.
Yeah. First of all, happy birthday! Happy 50th birthday!
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that they're going to be in Nashville for it, because
tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, these two teams at the end of the week, Nashville and Minnesota, are just yeah. The Islanders, I think, beat Nashville last season
at home.
Yeah.
And
then they had that insane game where they blew a 3-goal lead.
Yeah.
with 4 minutes left or whatever it was, and the season was largely over at that point. But yeah, and then anytime they play Minnesota, they lose, and then end up losing 7 in a row afterwards, which is great when you're looking ahead at the schedule. But that Devils game is just absolutely massive to start the week because of the opponent. As you said, the Devils lost tonight against the Hurricanes, so the Islanders will be 3 points back at Carolina. The Devils they're not necessarily right on the Islanders' heels, I guess. It's hard to be at this point in the season, and there's a couple Metro teams playing on Monday. That's Capitals and the Rangers. So by the time that this Devils game comes around, the Capitals could be ahead of the Islanders, or tied with them on points. The Rangers could be 3 points back of them. And if they can beat the Devils if they lose to the Devils on Tuesday, the Devils will be 2 back of them. But if they beat them, they're 6 up on New Jersey, a team that looked like we were saying, oh, nobody's running away with the East. In the beginning of the season, it looked like the Devils were going to do just that. And you have to wonder if Sheldon Keefe is kind of under some pressure now. And but yeah, that game is so big because of what's to come. It was great that they beat the Leafs. That was a huge 2 points. The way it happened was great. But you have to find a way to win that Devils game, because you're just going to go disappear. I always like to draw a line between these long road trips to, when you'd go on a sailing voyage 400 years ago. You'd be like, well, you wave to your loved ones. They're going on the ship, and maybe you'll see him again in 3 months, and
Yeah.
you just don't know. And I feel like that's how it's going to be with the Islanders. They're about to go on the 7-game road trip,
Yeah.
and by the time they come back, they could be in a really tough spot. If they don't go well, if they lose to the Devils, do what they normally do against the Predators and Wild, and then you're looking at a must-win week in Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Calgary, and then in the Pacific Northwest, you're like, God damn it.
Mm.
So, you got to just start it out on the right foot against the Devils here, and just throw more salt into their wound. It's it's almost a non-negotiable to win that game because of what's to come. And can they win in Nashville? Probably not. Can they win in Minnesota? Of course not. They can't. They haven't beat the Wild in my entire life, I feel like. So
Yeah.
scary. A very scary week because it doesn't look like, if you were just looking at who the Islanders played this week as a casual or as a fan of another team, you're like, oh yeah, it's just like, this is like a very random week for the Islanders. But for us, it's pretty terrifying knowing the
Yeah.
weight of that Devils game, plus the fact that they just can never beat these two teams,
Yeah.
two House of Horrors. So yeah, and it's a pivotal part of the season. Like they have not got out of the woodwork, and any 2 or 3 game losing streak is fatal right now.
Yeah, and that's what really sucks. And, listen, again, every team is going to have long road trips. The Islanders had one earlier this season, another 7-game road trip that took them through at that time, some of the biggest Stanley Cup contenders in the league. And we were sitting here worried about it. We were saying that was going to be the end of the season if it went poorly. And they went 6-1, right? They won all of them except for the best game they played. They ended up losing to the Avalanche, but it was really a tight game, and it was really, I think it ended up being like maybe a 1 or 2 goal game, but otherwise they walked out with a bunch of really hard fought wins, and it was huge. And so I really can't even talk too much shit about this 7-game road trip because we've seen them do really well on these, and maybe this works out. And on paper, this road trip's destinations are of a much lower caliber. I mean, all due respect, right? As opposed to going through Colorado, Dallas, who else was in that road trip? It was like literally Vegas, all these really big time teams. Now it's Nashville, it's Minnesota, again, Winnipeg. Edmonton's not been what they looked like the last couple of years. Calgary has been kind of in the dead last in the Western Conference for the most part. The Canucks have come back down to earth after the huge trade, and then Seattle, which has been completely kind of a mess for the last few months now. So, I mean, on paper, these teams aren't nearly as imposing as the other road trips teams, but that doesn't mean that these games are any easier. You're in Winnipeg in January. That's not a lot of fun, I guess, unless you're Ryan Pulock, who's from the area. And so, yeah, the Devils game is non-negotiable. I mean, they have to win that game, preferably in regulation. If it ends up being a shootout or overtime, whatever, fine. But it's got to be a win. You got to get 2 points out of there because the likelihood of getting 2 points out of any of these other games is very, very difficult. They have won in Winnipeg. We've seen them win in Edmonton. I don't think they've won in Calgary in a long, long time. We've seen them win in Vancouver. I don't know if they've won in Seattle, but I mean, it's probably been maybe 2 or 3 games. So, I'll say the same thing I said before that other trip. I mean, if you can come home with a split, it's a 7-game road trip. So if you come home 4-3, or even, 3-1 or something like that, I'll take it. That's fine. You got to beat the Sabres when you come home, but we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. But yeah, that Devils game, calling it non-negotiable, I think is the right way to go because they have to win. And the Devils just lost tonight, or Sunday night, I should say. They're in kind of bad shape right now. Things aren't really going well for them, even with Hughes back. They lost the other night too. Then they lost to Utah actually the other night. So, or did they? I forget now. I was watching it. Oh no, sorry, they beat Utah. Sorry about that. I had it on while I was setting up my drum kit downstairs. So I mean, they've kind of been up and down. They can be beaten, and you are at home. So just go out there and beat them, and then you could start your road trip on the right foot, as opposed to being like, oh man, we lost that easy game at home. Now we've got to try and win in a place where we never win. Just don't. I don't know if that stuff means anything to these guys, but it sure as hell means a lot to us. So yeah, I think that Devils game is, you got to have it. You just got to.
Yeah, you do. And as you said, it might not mean, they might not think about it this way, but as a fan, I'm like, God, if I have to go to bed on Tuesday night after them losing watching them lose to the Devils and know that they're now about to go on this 7-game road trip, be like, I'm gonna be worrying, kvetching all night.
Yeah.
So
Right.
about how this whole first half could have just been a waste of time and a mirage and
Yeah.
whatever. So, and I don't want
Yeah.
to be thinking about that
No.
when they're, by all accounts, having a decent first half. And I guess we can kind of just talk about that
Yeah.
now. And it's so like overall, the Islanders, as you said, their record is good. They're in a playoff spot right now. They're 3 points behind the Carolina Hurricanes for the top of the Metro. So you look at that and you're like, good first half. Like you can't. They're essentially on pace for I think they're on pace for 98 points.
Yeah. Yeah. 23, 15, and 4 is probably the best record they've had since what, 2019?
Yeah,
Something like
exactly.
That.
And but then when you like peel back the layers a little bit and you look at, well, how do they get there? It's because of great goaltending from both goalies, and exceptional first halves from Bo Horvat and Barzal, and of course Matthew Schaefer. But then and Emil Heineman, of course, with a lot of timely goals. But then you kind of get to like the meat of the roster, and I'm talking more about forwards than anything, and you really wonder how the Islanders can continue to rack up a 98-point pace with, JG Pajot is in the cooler. Jonathan Drouin is in the Drouin is in the cooler. Max Shabanov hasn't scored in quite a while.
Duclair, the tidy piece of business from 2 summers ago, hasn't even played in the last 2 games.
Right. Yeah.
He's in such
exactly.
a cooler. He's in the bottom of the cooler where you keep like, the oldest of the oldest food you have in your freezer.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's getting, I get they want to keep that fourth line together, but if Kyle McLean is taking your roster spot, right, you're in the cooler. And they still haven't figured out that number 6 defenseman. I mean, Cole McWard, right, God bless him, but didn't paint himself in glory. Adam Boqvist has played 12 games this season. He's the front runner for the Sebastian Aho, Michael Del Cole, JF Berube Award. And yeah, I mean, Siplikov has got one goal, no assists the entire season. That's the same stat line as Travis Mitchell.
They did try the 2 Russians on the same line in the Leafs game, and they did look like they were having fun together. I don't know if it's going to translate into actual goals. But they did seem to have some sort of weird chemistry together.
Yeah, that was fun to watch. Like as I said last night, it felt like they were like juggling together. It's like a circus act. It was fun to watch. And I love that Cal Ritchie was put in between them. So like you're a rookie in the NHL and you're going to center a line between 2 absolute KHL psychopaths. And he did a good job, Cal Ritchie. Like he's obviously a bright spot. I don't want to include him in this kind of conversation, but the point is, they're going to need some of these guys to get Kyle Palmieri, Brock Nelson hot, right? Yeah. Anders Lee hot when he gets going, and he's been like good, and he's had some good stretches, some bad stretches, because it's unlikely that you're going to get like another 13 goals from Emil Heineman in the second half like you did in the first half, and it's just you can't bank on that. So somebody else is going to have to provide that production, whether it's Drouin or Duclair. I don't know if it's an outside reinforcement, but if they are serious about making a playoff push, that's the thing that's probably worrying me the most, is that the middle 6 of this lineup, which I thought was going to be a strength in a weird way, and injuries has played a part, but in a weird way, they've almost had like too many of the same caliber of players, and it's just they haven't found like the correct mix yet, and they need to figure that out. Some of these guys have to get going quick, whether it's Lee, whether it's Pajot, whether it's Duclair. Somebody's got to score like 6 goals in a 10-game stretch or something.
Yeah, it's you can count on, I think, one hand the skaters who have played well. We could exclude the goalies here because I mean, again, they've both played very well. Sorokin should be back. By the way, we didn't mention that. Ilya Sorokin did back up David Riddick on Saturday, so I'm assuming he's back against the Devils, or at least for that first game against Nashville. But aside from the Utah game, Riddick has played well, and so I mean, you can't really include those guys. But as far as skaters go, it's been Barzal, Horvat, Schaefer, Pellick, and maybe somebody else, Richie, maybe you throw in there, or maybe Pollock has been pretty good. It's a couple of guys here and there, but like otherwise, they're just getting no offensive production from so many guys that it's making it impossible. Like it's just, Anders Lee has 10 goals this year. He's still on pace for a 20-goal season, which is a very Anders Lee thing. But sometimes he's just like, it feels like he doesn't even get past the opposing blue line. Like the game against the Leafs, he was not very good. Like he was just, I don't know what he was doing. Like he's just gets ridden off the puck, and he doesn't have they had no power play, so there's no chance for him to just like stand in front and do what Anders Lee does. So, I see a lot of complaints about him, but he's still on pace for an okay season. You're probably not going to get 13 goals from Heineman in the second half, like you said, but like if he gets another 8, right, or 7, he's got 20 goals. Like that's more than we expected to get from him. But you got to get something else from some of these guys. And Drouin might be the number one offender. I like the player. I like the guy. He's got a ton of skill. Obviously, it just hasn't meshed with anybody else on the island. Like it just hasn't. And it reminds me, like I always say this too. I don't think Barzal and Lee have a ton of chemistry together. It feels like they should. One guy's the skating, the water bug passer. The other guy just, is good around the net. He's supposed to be the man, with the deflections and everything. But for some reason, they don't really have a ton of chemistry. They play okay together because they're both very good at what they do. But like, I wouldn't say they're like putting them, lockstep together. Pajot and Holmstrom have chemistry, but neither of those guys has scored really much at all this season, which is really unfortunate. So the offense is going to have to come from somewhere. I don't think they're making a trade. I do think they're focused on making the playoffs. Sorry, all you, tank commanders out there. I don't think that's going to happen. If they fall off the pace and, if it's going to happen, it might be this road trip, then you might see them start to kind of like wrestle with the idea of trading some of these guys, but they're going to try and make the playoffs. And to do that, they're going to need some goals. Now, if you look at the Eastern Conference, and again, the Islanders right now, second place, 3 points behind their Hurricanes with 50 points. They're 1 point ahead of the Flyers, who have 49. And they're in a pretty good spot. But you look at the goal differential. Right now, the Tampa Bay Lightning have the East best at 32, plus 32. The Canadians, who are in second place in the Atlantic, have a 0 goal differential. The Red Wings, who are third, have a -7 goal differential. The Hurricanes have a plus 13, which is respectable. The Islanders have a 0 goal differential, also in second place in their division. The Flyers have a plus 8. Penguins have a plus 4. The Caps have a plus 14. Those are your 2 wild card teams. Everybody else is underwater except for the Ottawa Senators, who are somehow in like 14th or 12th place with a plus 4 goal differential. So, there's scoring. The only team scoring right now with a big clip is or on a big clip is the Tampa Bay Lightning. Everybody else is sort of like, 14 is good. Don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know if the Caps really, if they could probably go here or there. I mean, they might get blown out and all of a sudden it's down to plus 6 or something like that. So they need to find the fact that they're in second place with a 0 goal differential is really remarkable. And the fact that the Canadians are also in second place with just 2 points more than the Islanders, also with a 0 goal differential, is also pretty incredible. So as we've been saying this whole time, the East is extremely wide open, and you lose a couple of games and you're underwater and you're out of a playoff spot, and you got to fight your way back in. But if you win a couple of games, you get to live for another day and you get to breathe easy for another night until the next night when, the Penguins are playing again. So everything right now for the Islanders is respectable. 120 goals for, 120 goals against. Those are both pretty good numbers for the East. There are some teams with more, some teams with less. It seems like the teams that score more also give up more. So it's kind of back and forth, but this is as good a spot as this team has had in a very, very long time. And if you are hopeful that they're going to make the playoffs, I'm still kind of on that fence a little bit. I think the number one thing you are really hoping for is that they don't fall to one of the wild card spots and have to play the Hurricanes in the first round, because that would be the worst possible thing. Like if they either win the division or finish second and avoid the Hurricanes in the first round, I think they might go kind of far. But that's still several months from now. We could be talking about a playoff team. We could be talking about a team in the lottery. We have no idea.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
just how it is. Which sucks because again, this is as good a first half of the season as they've had in a long time.
Yeah, I think that's the point, right? It's like it feels like they should be in a better position, and because of the cracks that they've shown, and we just kind of raked over them.
Right.
You worry that
Yeah.
that they're that Matthew Schaefer isn't going to rescue them every night, and
Right.
they'll be without. Excuse me. They'll be without Bo Horvat for a while, or for a few more games, and obviously Sorokin. The injury. I love that the team was like small nagging injury. That we're going to use the Christmas break to take advantage of, to give him extra rest, and he still hasn't played since. But like that, so like there are those reasons for concern are why those games, those duds against the Canucks and the like are so frustrating, because they don't have the breathing room despite that. So yeah, I'm not saying what they've done is a mirage at all, but what I'm saying is that they're not in as good a situation as I think like their actual record would belie. And we're obviously have a propensity to kvetch and worry on the show, which is why it's called Islanders Anxiety. But I'm trying my best not to be pessimistic or loathing about a good first half by the book. But the job is so far from done, and I just wish I could breathe a little bit easier than I feel, because I feel like you put together this first half most seasons, and you're like a 4-game losing streak away from being in peril. Whereas this season, you're a 1-game losing streak away from being like, oh God, if they lose another one, we're going to be out of the playoffs. And who knows how far you can fall at that point. So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm just going to say, I think Anthony Duclair is going to get hot here. I just feel like he will. He's my pick. He's my pick for the guy who's going to.
I mean, to do that, he's going to have to get in the lineup. So
yeah, I have a feeling he's going to be back in the lineup, because after these, the Russian experiment, the great Russian experiment didn't go all that well. I think you can probably make a case for a few other guys to come out of the lineup. But and this is completely off the topic, but I also thought, because Emily loves to play the song "Jump in the Line" by Harry Belafonte when she wakes Emmy up. Yes, when she wakes Emmy up from a nap. And I heard it today, and I was like, that would be a great goal song.
Yeah.
So just gonna throw that out there too, for whatever reason.
I'm glad you brought that up. I mentioned on the Schaefer, the Leafs episode that we did on Saturday, that I went to the New York Sirens Montreal Victoire PWHL game at Prudential Center on Friday. Shout out to our friend Nick Giglia, who was also there. And he and I did not know he was there. He did not know I was there, and said to me, "Hey, you were there too? Oh man, I wish we had known. I wish I had been able to hook up with Nick, but what are you gonna do? We were there." And their goal song is New York by Alicia Keys. And I'm like, this is a great song. This is a great goal song. And I wish the Islanders could use this, but they can't. She's from Queens, man. That's closer to UBS Arena than it is Prudential Center. Anyway, that would have been a great song. I think you know the song I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And look, they're gung ho about expanding the territory of the team, of course. But That's the other thing of the first half that's been, that's been frustrating too, is like that. I feel like that the Islanders as a entity, as a business, as an LLC, are just like throwing all sorts of shit at the wall.
Yes.
And I'm
100%.
I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Like, why am I getting served these very strange posts from influencers in like Florida and other places? They're like, I'm unpacking an Islanders jersey in front of my classroom in Florida. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like,
who is this person from Summer House? Like,
yeah, exactly. Right. Like I don't know. So hopefully like a little less of that would certainly be nice. And, because, as that, if you read through that, whatever, that focus group thing, it is truly bizarre. It is by a company called Adjective and Company, based in Jacksonville, Florida. And like, it's like a 20-question questionnaire, and it's just all asking about like, oh, what are the funny inside jokes on Long Island? I'm not kidding. Like that's like what the questions are. And it's just a very strange thing to be reading the New York Islanders doing, because you want to know what's one of the good inside jokes on Long Island? It's the New York Islanders.
Yeah. I'm going to have to read this thing.
Yeah. It's not that hard all you need to do is just go to a game. Like if Scott Malkin just went to a game, he'd be like, he wouldn't need to pay money to a marketing firm, a boutique marketing firm in Jacksonville, Florida, to find out what it means to be a Long Island Islander fan. It's quite strange. So, yeah, those are the airing of grievances, I guess, from the first half. Is like, need the forwards to step up. Need to see less of I want to see more Radek Martinek and less Bravo reality stars.
Yeah. Yeah. What's funny too is here we are talking about 2019 and how that was like, the last time the Islanders had a really, really great first half. The more I thought about it, the more this seems almost a little bit like 2014-15, when the Islanders had that incredible team. That was the Boychuk Leddy year. They made that trade and they came out and they were just awesome through the first half, right through the All-Star game, the All-Star break where Kyle Oposo got hurt, and they were just cooking. And unfortunately, both the Capitals and Rangers both had like all-time franchise first halves. And so it was the same sort of frustrating experience where it was man, this team is great, but these other two teams in the same division are also great. And in fact, the Rangers ended up winning the division. They actually won the President's Trophy that year. They had 113 points. The Caps and Islanders both had 101. Of course, the Caps beat the Islanders in the first round that year. A bunch of other teams had 100 points. So that was also a pretty frustrating experience where it was like, oh man, this team is so good, and yet everybody else around them is as good, if not better. And it's kind of frustrating. You want to see some separation. So we'll see. We'll see if they can, no time like the present. And one time is in New Jersey, versus New Jersey on Tuesday. And then it's in Nashville. I know, but you guys are going to have to do it. Listen, if Austin Matthews can become the Leafs all-time leading goal scorer, you guys can win a game in Nashville. I think that's okay. But anyway, okay. We will wrap it up there. Oh no, sorry. We're not going to wrap it up there. Got one other piece of news for you. I saw this a couple of days late. I don't know if anybody saw this, but if you have not, Josh Ho-Sang has returned to the KHL. Signed again with Salavat Yuliyev, a team he played with for a couple of games a few years ago before he ended up coming back to the States to play with the Florida Everblades. So good luck, Josh Ho-Sang. He's still out there. He's still playing. He knows that I want to do a Weird Islanders the podcast on him, but he refuses to call it quits. So good on him. So I don't know if anybody else saw that, but he's out there. I don't know if he's played or whatnot, but we'll see. So good luck to Josh Ho-Sang. Okay. We will be back next week, same time as always. And we'll see how they do in Nashville and Minnesota and against New Jersey. And we'll see how the road trip gets started. Hopefully it starts like the last road trip with a 5-0 win on the road. That would be great. Become a member at patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety for commercial-free episodes, bonus shows, written posts and chats, or just join for free to get our weekly release calendar or try a 7-day free trial. Our theme song is Morning Haze by Family Dinner. Listen to more of their music on Spotify. Read Lighthouse Hockey every single day for your most up-to-date Islanders news and discussion. Dom's recap of the Leafs game on Saturday was absolutely hilarious, so definitely check that out if you haven't. Islanders Anxiety podcasts are part of the Fans First Sports Network. Find us wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Please leave us a review where you can. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Shop VintageIceHockey.com. Try wines from the Pinot Project. Mike, any final thoughts from you on the, again, surprisingly active week that was and the potentially disastrous week that is? I guess disaster is probably a little bit too strong. It's only 2 games, but it could be rough. It could start getting rough here.
It's always potentially disastrous.
Yeah, I guess.
Especially when the Nashville Predators are on the schedule. So, it's going to be a pretty worrisome week here. And nothing else, but other than just happy 5-0 to you. Hopefully the Islanders can deliver. They have a really good habit of letting you down in these kind of situations, but and letting all of us down, of course, in these kind of situations. Speaking of that Capital Series, Game 7 was on my birthday, so yeah, exactly. So let's just hope that they can deliver you into your second half century on a high note.
I would appreciate that. So let's see them get that, and we'll be back next week to talk over what happens. All right. So thanks for listening, and again, go back and check out the other episodes if you haven't from earlier the weekend. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.